She could never forget the scenes from that year, the clear silhouette she saw in her divination, one that destroyed the ancient stars beyond the realm. At this moment, she could only suppress her worry, raising her jade hand and pointing forward. Immediately, the Outer Realm cultivators around her charged forward with a howl. The Outer Realm armies from 8 directions, like 8 sharp swords, charged repeatedly towards the final Inner Realm region, the Star Array. The rumbling continued, and not long after, a deafening sound echoed across all directions. Another cultivation star collapsed and was destroyed, turning into a storm that was swept away and dispersed with a wave from the few profound experts observing the formation, preventing the collapsing storm from affecting the Outer Realm cultivators. Mu Bingmei stood on a cultivation star, surrounded by thousands of divine sect cultivators. During her years as the divine sect master, Mu Bingmei, with her unique charm and the words of Wang Lin from back then, unified the divine sect, commanding their loyalty. In the Cloud Sea War, Jia River War, even the Qing Shui War, and now in this final battle, the divine sect had fought with all their might. After heavy losses, Mu Bingmei had nearly died twice, but survived. However, only a few thousand divine sect cultivators remained. Master, please proceed to the core altar. We are here. A white-haired elder beside Mu Bingmei spoke with sorrow, cupping his fist in respect. Upon hearing this, the other divine sect cultivators around her also cupped their fists, all saying the same words. Please, Master, go to the core altar. We are enough here. Mu Bingmei's gaze remained calm. She didn't look at the divine sect disciples who had fought alongside her countless times, but instead stared at the sky. In the direction she was looking, tens of thousands of Outer Realm cultivators were using their divine powers to relentlessly attack. Between her and the Outer Realm cultivators was a layer of Star Array's light screen. These cultivators were attacking this light screen, and once it shattered, the cultivation star would be destroyed. Among the Outer Realm cultivators was a young man dressed in a green robe. He was handsome but exuded a sinister aura. With his hands behind his back, he was surrounded by the souls of countless vengeful women. These souls were the source of his divine powers, emitting haunting wails as they attacked the light screen. The young man's gaze pierced through the light screen, landing on Mu Bingmei in the distance. A faint smile appeared on his lips. Beauty, don't use your schemes. This light screen will soon fall. I've heard you were one of the Sealing Venerable's beloved ones. I have a particular interest in other people's women. Perhaps we should dual cultivate together. His voice slowly echoed from outside the light screen, and even the thunderous roars of tens of thousands of cultivators couldn't drown it out. This young man was one of the 7 great experts under the void profound level. He raised his right hand and pointed at Mu Bingmei on the cultivation star, grinning. You are mine. Mu Bingmei's expression remained calm, but a cold light flashed in her eyes. This young man was Dao Fei Shan, the leader of the Dao Fei clan, known for his expertise in dual cultivation techniques. His cruel nature had led to the deaths of many divine sect disciples. Not only did Dao Fei Shan enjoy women, but even handsome young men were also his targets. Mu Bingmei had been chased by him once, and if it weren't for the intervention of Qing Shui back then, she would have certainly fallen victim to his humiliation. Master, please, proceed to the core altar. I don't believe Sealing Venerable is truly dead. If something happens to you, once Sealing Venerable returns, we... The white-haired elder beside Mu Bingmei spoke anxiously. I am the divine sect master. Mu Bingmei spoke softly, her tone resolute. In another direction, the woman in the pink robes who had once said, "The Lord does not recognize this concubine," also stood on her cultivation star. Behind her were the cultivators from the Cultivation Alliance of Qing Shui Star Domain. Though the alliance had disbanded years ago, many cultivators had survived. However, after years of war, only less than 3,000 remained. These 3,000 cultivators were all from Qing Shui, their faces weary, yet they stood firm by the side of the pink-robed woman, their eyes burning with determination. Above them, outside the Star Array's light screen, tens of thousands of Outer Realm cultivators launched a frenzied assault. The roar of the attack was deafening. Among them, a middle-aged man stood with his shirt off, his face filled with ferocity. He unleashed a torrent of thunder and wind, creating countless bolts of lightning and gales that bombarded the light screen. His attack alone was comparable to the combined efforts of the entire army of cultivators. This man was also one of the 7 great experts. His physique was massive, resembling a fierce mountain. His roar accompanied the attacks of tens of thousands of cultivators, causing the light screen to warp and become unstable. Is it all coming to an end? Perhaps this is for the best. The woman in the pink robes concealed the deep exhaustion in her eyes. Her body appeared fragile, as though it could collapse with a single gust of wind. She withdrew her gaze from the sky and looked at the Qing Shui cultivators by her side. She wanted to say something, but her words were caught in her throat, interrupted by a distant roar. In the distance, a cultivation star suddenly exploded. Thousands of cultivators perished with a single flick of the sleeve of a blue fur elder. Another cultivation star was destroyed soon after. This star formation was originally made up of 999 cultivation stars, each generating a protective barrier of starlight. When these 999 barriers fused together, they formed an immense defensive power. However, with each cultivation star's destruction and each starlight barrier shattering, the power of the formation was steadily diminishing. Born as a soul of this realm, death as a soul of this realm. But still, there's a sense of unwillingness. I haven't told him who I am. The woman in pink whispered to herself, turning her head. To the west of the star formation, under the relentless bombardment of tens of thousands of cultivators, a star formation barrier twisted and began to collapse. On one of the cultivation stars, Shi Zifeng bit her lip and stood together with a group of Luo Tian cultivators. Beside her stood Zhang Konglai and Shen Gonghu. Yin Lazy was among them. They were all cultivators of Luo Tian. In the face of tens of thousands of cultivators outside the barrier, a feeling of helplessness rose in them. They could only watch as the starlight barrier was slowly destroyed, waiting for the moment it collapsed to release the final surge of their life force. When the barrier shatters, it will be our moment of self-destruction. Are you ready? Yin Lazy's voice was low as he spoke slowly. They weren't the first group to choose self-destruction. In fact, nearly all the cultivation stars in this star formation had chosen to self-destruct the moment their barriers were shattered. Another roar echoed in the distance, and yet another cultivation star exploded after its barrier was destroyed. A shrill screech came from within the massive star formation, and a green light shot up, soaring through the formation and heading straight for the outer realm cultivators. In that instant, a long laugh rang out. The black-robed elder who had once participated in the siege against Wang Lin stepped forward, clashing with the green light. With a loud crash, the green light scattered slightly and staggered back a few steps, while the black-robed elder was pushed back 100 feet. A gleam of light flickered in his eyes as he grinned savagely, his hands forming a seal, and black mist spread in all directions. Well done, Rain Realm Immortal Emperor Qing Lin. No wonder you're a disciple of that old sealing venerable. Your cultivation may be inferior to mine, but you borrow the power of devotion. The green light dispersed to reveal Qing Lin, who appeared pale. He had sustained heavy injuries and, after a brief rest, had returned to fight the powerful outer realm cultivators. Since the day he had been surrounded, this had been his path. The moment Qing Lin appeared, a chilling aura swept through the star formation. A woman dressed in purple first stepped out. Her expression was gentle, but her eyes held a murderous glint. She was the ruler of Jia River. As she stepped out, a few outer realm profound void experts watching the formation let out a soft laugh. The immortal consort, who had once destroyed Wang Lin's 5 viscera with her music, floated into the air and flew straight toward the purple fur woman from Jia River. Within the rapidly dwindling star formation, on the altar covered by mist, Qing Shui sat cross-legged. His figure was shrouded in mist, trembling as his face contorted in endless pain. From his 7 orifices, 7 strands of black mist swirled, resembling poisonous snakes that twisted and coiled. Despite Qing Shui's struggle, they refused to be expelled. Behind him, Red Fur Master also sat cross-legged, his hands forming seals as he attempted to help expel the black mist. Red Fur Master, stop worrying about me. Qing Shui suddenly opened his eyes, his pupils scattering, and 7 black dots swirled within them. If I don't help you, you'll die in less than 3 moments. Red Fur Master wiped the sweat from his brow, raised his right hand, and waved toward the outer side of the formation. Instantly, a black light appeared, transforming into a puppet that rushed toward the formation's outer edge. Red Fur Master then pointed his finger at Qing Shui's back. Qing Shui gritted his teeth and growled as the slaughter origins surged from within him, colliding with Red Fur Master's fingertip. His body stumbled, spewing blood as he turned and shouted, "Don't worry about me." Red Fur Master gazed at Qing Shui deeply, sorrow flickering in his eyes. He stood up and began walking toward the outer side of the altar with determination. The old woman among the outer realm profound void experts coldly laughed and approached. Qing Shui breathed heavily on the altar, black blood flowing from his mouth. His vision blurred, but he struggled to lift his head, looking at a distant cultivation star, the one where the woman in pink was. Is it her? It must be. Qing Shui's eyes softened. He had sensed it many years ago, but he had never confirmed it. Just then, the starlight barrier around the cultivation star of the woman in pink was suddenly shattered by the immense wind and thunder power of a giant. With a wild laugh, the giant led tens of thousands of cultivators straight toward the star. He had lost everything. He would never allow himself to lose the woman in pink again. This woman, Qing Shui could feel the breath of his daughter's soul on her. This sensation had excited Qing Shui years ago. He had laughed maniacally, losing himself in the moment. He had stared at that woman countless times, feeling as though she had become his entire existence, his continuation. She was everything to him. Even now, when Qing Shui was heavily wounded and had no help from the Red Fur Master, with only moments left to live, he would never allow his daughter to be harmed, not even a little bit, in these final moments of his life. This was something he, as a father, had to do, especially after being filled with guilt for countless lifetimes, having searched for her for so long. A beastly roar escaped his mouth. Trembling, he slammed his right hand into the altar beneath him. The impact caused an earth-shattering explosion, and the spot where he struck instantly shattered. A powerful recoil erupted from the altar. Using the recoil that surged into his body, Qing Shui's body shot upward, tearing through the altar and the mist, heading straight toward the cultivation star where the light barrier had been broken. His vision was already blurred, the world before him indistinct, but the one thing he could still see clearly, the only thing that mattered, was the figure of that woman on the cultivation star. The woman in pink was pale, with only the sound of roaring filling her ears. She watched as the light barrier collapsed, witnessing the large man with a bare chest, charged with wind and thunder, coming toward her with thunderous power. Behind him, tens of thousands of cultivators rushed in with snarls. She could feel the cultivation star beneath her shaking violently. The pressure from those tens of thousands of cultivators, especially the large man, was causing the star to tremble, as if it were about to collapse. The ground split open in countless fissures, the earth heaving like a turbulent sea. The Qing Shui cultivators around her had bloodshot eyes, growling as they launched themselves into the air, like moths drawn to flame, charging toward the outer realm invaders. Moths to a flame. They didn't know if they were going to die, or if they truly didn't care. Perhaps they knew, but perhaps they didn't. A fierce wind howled, and the woman's pale face showed a hint of unusual color. There was reluctance in her eyes, but she decisively severed it. She took a step forward. Her cultivation wasn't high, but she was from the inner realm. She feared death, but she had no fear of dying alongside her world when it fell to ruin. The thunderstorm giant, one of the 7 great powers of the outer realm, grinned sinisterly. He didn't care about the cultivators in his path, whom he considered weak. Instead, he raised his right hand and slammed it downward. With a mighty roar of wind and thunder, black wind surged into a storm, interwoven with countless blue lightning balls. They twisted into a massive black thunder dragon, roaring as it shot toward the earth. The only obstacle in its path was the woman in pink. The thunderstorm giant stood atop the dragon's head, roaring through the air as it charged through the thousands of cultivators. In the blink of an eye, he was less than 30 feet from the woman. Ant-like cultivator. The giant's eyes flashed with disdain. To him, this woman didn't even deserve to exist. His goal was to destroy this star, and then move on to the next cultivation star. But just as he was about to reach the woman, his expression suddenly changed. He jerked his head upward, his gaze locking onto the altar deep within the star array. A wild, beastly roar erupted from the altar, carrying a destructive force that seemed to shake the heavens and the earth. The fury of a father who would kill anyone who dared to harm his daughter surged out. Die! Bloodlight flashed, and countless red snowflakes appeared in the starry sky. These snowflakes radiated a chilling aura as they spun rapidly. Among them, Qing Shui's body blasted forth. His speed had reached its limit. He was in a frenzy, his slaughterous origin exploding within him. The earth-shattering power was so intense that even those engaged in battle from afar could feel it. All eyes were drawn to him. The thunderstorm giant's expression changed drastically. He recognized Qing Shui. He knew how powerful the man was. No one in the void nirvana realm could match him. Without hesitation, he stopped, turning the black thunder dragon away from the earth to confront Qing Shui's arrival. But this action only pushed Qing Shui's madness to an unprecedented peak. The woman in pink was too close to him now. As the thunder dragon reared up, it was almost certain to strike her. The relationship between her and Qing Shui was a mystery to all in this world. Even Wang Lin didn't know, but only Qing Shui understood at this moment. Qing Shui's eyes were completely red. In an instant, he appeared before the bewildered woman in pink, raising his right hand to seize the black thunder dragon. With a furious roar, he violently threw it out. Die! The moment Qing Shui grasped the black thunder dragon, countless crimson snowflakes swarmed in, encasing the dragon in an instant. With a cracking sound, the dragon froze in place. From Qing Shui's hand, the strongest killing intent of his life erupted, all of it poured into the dragon's body. As he threw it, the dragon disintegrated, shattering into pieces amidst a thunderous roar. The giant man on top of it vomited blood. In his horror, he tried to retreat, but Qing Shui took a single step and was directly in front of him. His right hand rose and came crashing down with a fierce palm strike. The moment the strike fell, the giant man's soul seemed to scatter. The aura of life and death surrounded him. He felt certain that he was doomed. The power behind the palm was unimaginable, a force of slaughter beyond reckoning. A thunderous crash rang out. The giant man spat out several mouthfuls of blood, stumbling backward hundreds of yards. A deep, bloody wound appeared on his face, stretching from his forehead to his abdomen, as though his body might tear apart. But his body wasn't severed. Just before the killing force could obliterate him, it rapidly weakened, fading into nothingness. The giant man's face turned pale as he thought he was dead for sure. But as he looked up in his survival, he saw Qing Shui spitting a vast amount of black blood, his body collapsing backward, only to be caught by the pink-clad woman. Gazing at his daughter's beautiful face, Qing Shui's eyes filled with tears. The woman in pink, filled with confusion, bit her lower lip. She didn't understand why Qing Shui had acted like this. She knew him and his high status well. Why? She murmured softly. At that moment, the wind thunder giant roared to life. His eyes revealed ecstasy, filled with murderous intent, and he charged forward. Simultaneously, a deafening boom echoed across the sky. In the distance, at the cultivation star where Mu Bingmei was, the outer barrier shattered. A young man with a lecherous gleam in his eyes laughed loudly as he stepped into the collapsing barrier, heading toward Mu Bingmei with cold eyes. Sealing Venerable's beauty will surely bring great pleasure to me. Mu Bingmei's eyes filled with cold resolve. The divine sect disciples around her rushed out, preparing to fight and perish with the inner realm in this final moment. At the same instant, three figures, Wang Lin, the Jia River woman, and Red Fur Master, faced their greatest battle for life and death. This battle could end the war. The endless starry sky above the star array trembled as an immense power from afar rushed forward, capable of suppressing the entire star domain. This power tore through the sky, shaking the hearts of all cultivators within the inner realm and causing the outer realm cultivators to burst into ecstatic cheers. In full view of countless people, a massive crack appeared in the endless starry sky, emanating the aura of the ancient stars beyond the realm. From that crack, a colossal palace extended, roaring as it emerged from within. This palace was the temple worshipped by countless cultivators of the ancient stars. It was the residence of the Palm Sovereign. The Palm Sovereign, in his true form, had entered the inner realm for the first time. Dressed in black robes, the Palm Sovereign stood atop the palace, his face unseen, but his right hand raised. His hand, shriveled like bone, exuded an overwhelming destructive power. With a swift movement, he pressed his hand downward toward the red fur master, Xia River Woman, and Qing Lin below. "It's over." The old, hoarse voice of the Palm Sovereign rang out as his right hand descended. A massive palm imprint surged forward. This palm imprint blotted out the starlight as though it were tangible, crashing down from the endless starry sky, directly toward the star array below. The starry sky collapsed, and an oppressive feeling filled every cultivator's heart in the inner realm, suffocating them with despair. Under this palm imprint, the Wind Thunder Giant, with a sinister grin, advanced toward Qing Shui and his daughter. At the same time, Dao Fei Shan, whose eyes gleamed with perversion, waved his sleeve, sweeping away all those before him, leaving only Mu Bingmei to approach step by step. However, in this crucial moment, a sharp, ear-piercing whistle sounded from the junction between the Luo Tian star domain and the Sea of Clouds star domain. This whistle didn't come from any cultivator, but from an arrow carrying destruction, fury, and slaughter, the arrow of death. Its whistling sound surged forward, surpassing the roar of the Palm Sovereign's descending palm, becoming the only sound in the ears of every cultive this familiar feeling. It was his brother, his junior disciple. The woman in the pink robe who was supporting him also raised her delicate head, her eyes suddenly shining with a brilliance never seen before as she looked ahead. The thunderstorm giant's body trembled, and he abruptly turned his head, disbelief filling his eyes. On another cultivation star, Mu Bingmei, already in despair, suddenly shuddered. Her eyes glowed with a light, and in that light, her beauty was unmatched. A smile appeared on her face, a rare smile that even in her life, she had seldom worn. She knew, she was certain, he would not die. Dao Fei Shan, less than 10 yards away from Mu Bingmei, suddenly shook. He felt that terrifying aura that made his scalp tingle. He saw the gentle, happy smile at the corner of Mu Bingmei's mouth. Although he had never met Wang Lin, in that instant, his mind roared as he had a terrifying guess. He turned around abruptly. On yet another cultivation star, countless familiar faces of those who knew Wang Lin, Shi Zifeng, Zhang Konglai, Shin Gonghu, Yan Lazy, and many more, looked out toward the distant, whistling arrow coming from the vast starry sky, carrying an overwhelming might. It was an arrow of immense size, enough to shatter the heavens and obliterate the earth. The arrowhead was round, and as it whistled, the stars around it collapsed, unable to stop its force. At the tip of the arrow stood a person, clad in white, with white hair. Behind them, two massive immovable wheels followed, rumbling relentlessly. In that moment, Qing Lin, Red Fur Master, and the Xia River Woman, whom Wang Lin didn't recognize, all looked toward the terrifying arrow in unison. Qing Lin's eyes were filled with disbelief. He felt a strange familiarity with the arrow, as if he had vaguely recognized something, but he dared not imagine it. Red Fur Master was completely stunned. He never expected Wang Lin not only survived but had grown to such an extent, arriving in such a shocking, unimaginable way. The shock among the cultivators within the realm was nothing compared to that of those from the outer realm. At this moment, the hundreds of thousands of cultivators from the outer realm all trembled, fear in their eyes. Some recognized Wang Lin and were overwhelmed with terror, especially the Void Profound experts who had participated in the ambush on Wang Lin. They all turned around in shock. Wang Lin. He's still alive. This is Li Guang's arrow. The immortal consorts, who had witnessed the power of this arrow, turned pale. In an instant, the arrow screamed and thundered toward them, leaving a trail of destruction in its wake. Wherever it passed, star regions were torn apart, creating a gap that would forever remain in the stars. This gap came from the boundary with the Sea of Clouds, stretching endlessly. This arrow carried Wang Lin's anger, the slaughter he experienced after traversing Qing Zhao River and the Sea of Clouds, as it roared toward the immense palm imprint descending from above the star array and the rift. This was the battle between Wang Lin and the Palm Sovereign. Everything happened faster than a lightning strike. While cultivators both within and outside the realm were still stunned, the arrow howled toward the palm imprint, growing ever closer. In that moment, all eyes were on it. Wang Lin's appearance outshone all other light, drawing the attention of outer realm cultivators and powerhouses. Under their gaze, the arrow collided with the palm imprint with a deafening crash. In that instant of contact, the palm imprint shook violently, bursting into rainbow light. The dazzling radiance could not suppress the arrow, which carried no light, only the essence of slaughter. The thunderous sound spread throughout Luo Tian, causing a shockwave that swept in all directions, and the palm imprint trembled fiercely, collapsing. As the palm imprint shattered, the earth-shaking arrow pierced through the fragmented imprint, roaring with an even more terrifying sound, as though it had stolen the breath of all who looked upon it. In the stunned silence of the crowd, it broke through the danger and sped toward the palace beyond the rift, howling as it went. In the palace, the palm sovereign, cloaked in black, stood amidst the raging winds, his withered face twitching. His eyes revealed a rare madness. I don't believe it. Li Guang's bow cannot possibly unleash the power to kill me. The palm sovereign growled, stepping forward, directly facing the incoming arrow. In an instant, the palm sovereign appeared before the arrow's tip, his withered hands swinging as the rainbow light flickered rapidly. 7 light barriers appeared, colliding with the arrow in a spectacular. The rumbling sound once again echoed through the starry sky. The 7-colored light barrier collided with the arrow, and in an instant, the red, orange, yellow, and green barriers slightly resisted before shattering. Following that, the blue and purple barriers, under intense distortion, also burst apart with a loud explosion. The 7-colored light barrier could not stop this arrow. While Wang Lin's cultivation might not be strong enough to challenge the palm sovereign, in this world, in this realm, in this cave abode, he had this arrow, and perhaps there was someone who could stop it. But among the limited few, the palm sovereign was not one of them. The palm sovereign staggered backward, his black robes torn apart, revealing 2 withered arms. His face darkened as he roared, biting his tongue and spitting out a mouthful of blood. The blood contained gold, and in an instant, it erupted with the power of an immortal's bloodline. A golden sun materialized in front of him, and as soon as the sun appeared, the primordial rules enveloped the star domain. I don't believe it. The palm sovereign shouted, pushing the golden sun in front of him, hurling it at the arrow with great force. Just a mere servant of the palm seal, get lost. Wang Lin's voice thundered, and with his words, the arrow collided with the golden sun in a cataclysmic clash. The explosion became an auditory shockwave that spread, causing countless cultivators to scream in agony as their eardrums shattered and blood spurted from their bodies. The golden sun trembled violently, unable to advance under the pressure of the arrow. Even with the palm sovereign pushing with all his strength, he unwillingly staggered backward. Finally, with a final, deafening roar, the sun exploded, unleashing a violent, immense shockwave. Yet, instead of radiating outward, it all surged toward the palm sovereign under the arrow's immense pressure. The palm sovereign spat out more blood, and his black robes shattered completely, revealing his withered body. As he retreated, he crashed into a palace that extended out from the crack in the space. With a massive explosion, cracks appeared on the palace, and at the same time, the arrow whistled, approaching rapidly. As it collided with the palace, the palm sovereign quickly formed hand seals and thrust forward with great force. To everyone's shock, a giant well appeared in front of him, brimming with the energy of the universe, containing endless stars. This well was the palm sovereign's 2nd realm of devotional power. It was a treasure granted by a madman when he was in the immortal firmament continent. As soon as it appeared, the arrow followed closely behind. The well was not laid flat, but stood upright. The water surface rippled, and when the arrow approached, an identical arrow manifested from within the well. This illusory arrow shot out of the water and sped toward the real arrow. As the 2 arrows made contact, the illusory arrow shattered, and the palm sovereign spat out blood once more, his eyes filled with disbelief. You used the immortal indestructible body of the master. This immortal indestructible body is so precious It can only be obtained once in a lifetime. You actually abandoned it. You're wasting it so recklessly. But how many more arrows can you shoot like this? I predict that you have only 2 more bows of immortal power left. After that, you'll never become an immortal again, and you'll never regain the immortal bloodline. Then, you'll be nothing but an ant. The Palm Sovereign's words were cut off as the arrow collided with his body, a tremendous force coursing through him, causing his body to collapse, along with the palace behind him. This palace had existed since time immemorial, a mental manifestation of an outer realm cultivator. In the cultivator's mind, this palace was sacred, an object that would never be destroyed. But at this moment, they watched helplessly as the palace shattered before their eyes, breaking into countless fragments that exploded into the air. The Palm Sovereign was destroyed, the palace collapsed, and the world trembled. However, the Palm Sovereign didn't die completely. As his body shattered, and the arrow pierced through him, releasing all its power into the heavens and earth, his disintegrated body and blood miraculously reformed. At the crack where the palace had once stood, his body rapidly gathered and reappeared. Seal Annihilation Clan, 3 Fate Technique. Wang Lin's eyes narrowed. The resurrected Palm Sovereign was pale, and without hesitation, as soon as his body was reformed, he rushed toward the crack. He reached out with his right hand, and with a loud crash, the crack disintegrated under his grip. His escape was a pitiful sight. The lingering sound of the explosion slowly faded away, and the hundreds of thousands of cultivators around them were silent. All eyes turned to Wang Lin. This one arrow had been nothing short of a shock. An old woman from the outer realm profound void cultivators was pale, her eyes wide with endless fear. That one arrow had completely terrified her. The old man in black was horrified. The power of that arrow was even those 2 immortal consorts, despite their high status, were now looking at Wang Lin with fear in their eyes. Even though they were immortals from the immortal firmament continent, what of it? They still had to fear Wang Lin, a mere cave mansion cultivator in their eyes. In the distance, Grand Diviner Yun Luo was trembling uncontrollably. From her position, she could see Wang Lin's back. This back, she was familiar with it, and it filled her with fear. It was the same back she had once divined, the one belonging to the person who would destroy the heavens and the earth. Though she is not my beloved, she is the mother of my son, Wang Ping. What did you just say? Wang Lin turned around, his eyes sharp like swords, locking onto Dao Fei Shan, who was standing 10 zhang away from Mu Bingmei, with terror evident on his face. It was only at this moment that Dao Fei Shan truly realized how terrifying Wang Lin was. The power of that single arrow had actually killed the Palm Sovereign. His disbelief was overshadowed by an overwhelming fear that surged to the peak of his life. Now, under Wang Lin's gaze, Dao Fei Shan's heart pounded rapidly. Wang Lin's eyes were like swords that could cut through the heavens, sweeping across and locking onto Dao Fei Shan, causing his mind to roar and instinctively take several steps back, his face turning pale. He was nearly scared out of his wits. Wang Lin's words felt like the voice of death, leaving his mind blank for a moment. His cultivation level was only void nirvana, and facing Wang Lin, he had the sensation of looking up at a mountain peak. In that instant, a wave of regret, as vast as the ocean, overwhelmed him. He should never have provoked Mu Bingmei. He shouldn't have harbored perverse thoughts about the Palm Sovereign's beloved. This was the root of his death. But he was a 3rd step great power, and despite trembling and feeling the utmost fear, there was still a trace of clarity in his mind. He knew he was as good as dead, but if there was even a sliver of hope, it lay with Mu Bingmei. In the moment Wang Lin's words reached him, without hesitation, Dao Fei Shan retreated several steps, then dashed toward Mu Bingmei. His expression was full of madness. The madness to survive. He was going to capture Mu Bingmei, to use her as a bargaining chip for his survival. This was his last, his only hope. A distance of 10 zhang was nothing for a 3rd step great power, but it all depended on whose gaze it was under, whose presence it was in front of. Under Wang Lin's eyes, Dao Fei Shan had no such qualification. The moment his body moved, closing the distance to Mu Bingmei within a zhang, she didn't even try to dodge. Instead, she coldly stared at him, her beautiful eyes filled with indifference. Wang Lin's expression remained calm as he took a step forward. His speed far exceeded what Dao Feishan had imagined. The afterimages remained in the distance, but Wang Lin's body appeared right in front of Mu Bingmei, and his right hand reached out suddenly. With that grasp, it was as if Dao Feishan had delivered himself to Wang Lin. His wrist was immediately seized. Seeking death, Wang Lin's cold voice rang out. Grabbing Dao Feishan's arm, he took a step forward. As he moved, Dao Feishan was completely unable to control his body, being dragged along and then hurled toward the ground with a resounding crash. The roar echoed, and a horrifying scream filled the air, causing the cultivators nearby to finally react. As Dao Feishan's body hit the ground, Wang Lin tossed him again with a single motion, sending him flying into the sky. A murderous glint flashed in Wang Lin's eyes. As he had said before, though Mu Bingmei was not his beloved, she was Wang Ping's mother. How dare Dao Feishan defile her? This was something Wang Lin would never allow. Wang Lin walked forward, instantly closing the distance to Dao Feishan. He raised his right hand and pressed it against Dao Feishan's chest. A surge of power rushed into his body, targeting his right arm, and with a deafening explosion, Dao Feishan's right arm was shattered, turning to blood and flesh. Wang Lin didn't stop. He pressed again, and with another violent sound, Dao Feishan's left arm was destroyed. Without his arms, Dao Feishan screamed in agony. Before Wang Lin, he had no ability to resist. At this moment, all the Outer Realm cultivators who had been shaken by the power of the previous arrow dared not intervene. Even if they wanted to, it was already too late. Wang Lin's right hand made a series of sharp motions, and after several more points, Dao Feishan's legs were shattered, blood and flesh flying. The final palm strike was a death blow. After destroying all four of Dao Feishan's limbs, Wang Lin raised his right hand and struck down on Dao Feishan's head with crushing force. The sound of the impact echoed within Dao Feishan's body as he spewed blood from his mouth. His eyes dulled, and his cries grew weak. With a final tremor, his body exploded, splintering into pieces and splattering blood everywhere. But not a single drop touched Wang Lin. The physical body collapsed, and Dao Feishan's essence spirit was gravely injured, yet he did not die. Instead, he flew out from the scattered flesh and blood, dazed and confused. In that moment of bewilderment, Wang Lin's right hand reached out and gripped his neck. With a forceful squeeze, a loud boom echoed, and this generation's third-step void nirvana expert was completely slain. The bloody scene made the Outer Realm cultivators around them gasp in shock, stepping back in horror. Even the thunderstorm giant before Qing Shui felt his scalp go numb. Without hesitation, he retreated immediately. But just as he was backing away, Wang Lin suddenly spun around, his red eyes locking onto the giant. The giant's body trembled, and after a brief pause, he retreated even faster. "You dare hurt my senior brother. How can I let you escape?" Wang Lin twisted his body mid-turn and appeared instantly behind the giant. He raised his right hand and swung it forward. The giant let out a frantic roar, abruptly spinning around. His hands formed seals as he slammed them backward, meeting Wang Lin's right hand. The thunderous crash was deafening. The giant spat out blood as his arms snapped with a series of cracks. Screaming in agony, his body twisted, staggering back 100 feet. A murderous gleam appeared in Wang Lin's eyes as he stepped forward, closing the distance in an instant. His right hand clenched into a fist, aiming directly at the giant's chest. Desperation and madness filled the giant's eyes as he bit down on his tongue, spraying a blood arrow. The blood arrow turned into a blood-colored wind, sweeping through the air and becoming a violent storm that rushed toward Wang Lin. Having mastered the wind origin and attaining the third-step void nirvana, as well as acquiring the incomplete thunder origin, this is indeed rare. Wang Lin observed calmly. His right hand remained motionless, and with a single strike, he slammed down onto the blood-colored storm, his fingers tightly coiling inward, as though gripping a fist. He then yanked it outward. With a violent tug, the blood-colored storm instantly shattered. As it collapsed, the thunder within trembled. Wang Lin, being the ancestor of thunder, with his thunder origin at perfection, caused the very heavens and earth's thunder to bow to him, let alone these insignificant thunderballs. "Scram!" Wang Lin shouted lowly. The countless thunderballs within the collapsing storm quivered and retreated at lightning speed, scattering in all directions before vanishing without a trace. The power of wind and thunder was no match for Wang Lin. Having destroyed the storm, he stepped forward, and in the midst of the thunderstorm giant's despair, appeared right beside him in a single step. With an effortless motion, his right hand raised, 2 fingers forming a sword, and he pointed directly at the giant's neck. "You harm my senior brother. Now you must bear the greatest pain the world can offer." With that single point, the giant's neck veins bulged, and his blood rushed wildly, as if a massive suction force had begun pulling from where Wang Lin's fingers had landed. In an instant, the giant's body turned pale, his blood gathering in his neck. From a distance, his neck appeared black and purple, swelling into a massive bulge. This bulge contained all the blood in his body. In that moment, the blood condensed in his neck. With a loud bang, the purple-black bulge burst open like a fountain, spewing blood in all directions, until not a single drop remained in the giant's body. His screams were horrific. The pain was indescribable, and even a cultivator would almost be unable to withstand it. Yet, even after the blood had been completely drained, the suction did not lessen. Instead, it grew even stronger. The giant's life force was drawn out, and white vapor sprayed from the wound in his neck. His body rapidly withered, and in the blink of an eye, he nearly turned into a skeleton. His eyes bulged, his expression terrifying, yet he was devoid of any vitality, resembling a lifeless corpse. However, the suction from Wang Lin's fingers continued unabated, growing even more intense. Under this relentless force, the now skeletal giant's body trembled violently, his screams turning hoarse. His bones began to dissolve. The bones melted into marrow essence, dissolving along with his essence spirit, rapidly being drawn out. This spectacle shocked everyone watching. They witnessed the complete dissolution of a third-step void nirvana expert's body, reduced to wisps of breath, all of it finally condensing into a misty ball in Wang Lin's palm. This mist ball was the thunderstorm giant. Gripping the mist ball, Wang Lin moved with a flash, appearing before Qing Shui. He raised his left hand and pressed it to the head of Qing Shui, whose eyes had already closed, on the verge of death. With a single press, Qing Shui's body trembled violently. He suddenly opened his eyes, only to see 7 streams of black mist erupting forcefully from his 7 orifices. These mist-like serpents struggled and twisted, unwilling to leave, but under the overwhelming pressure of Wang Lin's formidable cultivation, they were forced to surge out of Qing Shui's body. As the 7 streams of black mist dissipated, though Qing Shui's eyes remained dim, the death energy that had enveloped him dissipated significantly, and a spark of vitality began to revive within him. Having dispelled the poison within his body, Wang Lin pressed the mist ball, formed from the body of the large man, into Qing Shui's body with his right hand. After absorbing this, your injuries will heal faster, senior brother. Wang Lin glanced at the pink-clad woman beside Qing Shui, who was staring blankly at him, before turning and